Action. Okay, so this is a multi-purpose video. One, a little bit of paying it forward, but two, and the most important part, is education. So, there's a lot of things on a budget build that you can use used parts, use lesser parts, you know, that really don't. At the end of the day, there's some things that you can get away with using lower dollar stuff and getting by. Me personally, I run one brand of shock on everything, and that's Santhuff. They're on the red car. Oh, look at that shit now. No more fucking having to do sweeps. You remind me to call him tomorrow and tell him I love him, Chris.
Okay.
You know how I have to get up in there with the little deal? Guess what? He's fixing to get a bunch of shocks back.
So what does that do? Just click?
I
Oh, okay.
remember how I'm always
Okay.
wadded up underneath the car
Yeah.
doing this with a little
With
bit.
a little
Yeah, well, guess what? Guess what, Chris? If you see this video, I'm fixing to send all my shocks back and have you put those on there. So, and when I say they're on everything, right here. Show them on the other side. That one's still a little dirty and crispy.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to explain why. So,
There we go.
Santhuff. Santhuff. You ain't gonna get her in the back. Around back of this car, it's already jacked up. These are the black ones, but Santhuff's. Now I'll explain why. And I am gonna do some testing on some other shocks because for you guys to see if there's some lower price shocks. These are not cheap, but I know these shocks. And here's the thing. If you have a set of Santhuff shocks and I get a video of the tire, I see what the tire is doing, I know exactly what to say, or I know exactly what to tell you, or I know exactly what to do based on what I seen the tire do to make the car work. Everybody can talk all the shit they want about me, but one thing nobody can deny, my blue Chevy 2, my silver truck, everything that I take out on the fucking street, Reaper, every one of those cars 60 foot like a motherfucker. So I may not run it, they may, a lot of things may happen, but all of my shit works leaving. So, and everything, a big part of that is the shocks that I run. There's some guys that will tell you it really doesn't matter on the front shocks, the back shocks are more important. Oh, it really doesn't matter on the back shocks, the front shocks are most important. Guys, let me tell you right here, right now, and I don't give a fuck who says these aren't important, those aren't important. I don't give a fuck if it's the god of all suspensions. I'll say right now, you're full of shit. Because that front shock and that rear shock have to work together. They have to be able to control what the chassis is doing on the car. My brother and I just argued about this the other day. He goes, front shocks doesn't matter because all they got to do is come up and either hold the car up or let the car settle back down. But that's really not true also. If that car is rolling out there and it's picking the front tire up and you want that tire, you want it to react and you want that tire to come back down, I know exactly how many sweeps or how many clicks to put in these Santhuff shocks to make the front end come up slower, settle down faster, or whatever I want it to do. Everything in the first rotation of the tire. I was taught what I know about chassis stuff and how to make a car work mainly by three people. Monty Smith, Travis Quillen, and Brent Austin. Those three guys taught me what I know about making a car work. And there's different theories about which shocks are the most important. To me, all the shocks are important. I don't, and I'm not slamming any particular brand of shock, but there's one brand of shock that I will not put on my lawnmower. And a lot of people like them because they're a really cheap, affordable shock. Now we have Vikings over on the Corvette because I was going to try a set out. I wanted to see what exactly, how the valving worked and see if I could figure those shocks out. There's some other shocks that we are fixing to try on one of the cars. I want to see how their shocks compare. I am not, on my fast shit, I will never run anything but a Santhuff shock. This street car stuff, hey, I'm open to trying some stuff for you guys to get a more affordable shock. But if you want the best shock, and you want the shock that's gonna, I mean, if you want the best, that is the brand to buy. I know those shocks, and you guys will see when I get this car done, the only thing I'm kind of worried about with this car is I don't have a chance converter in it. Because it's 700 R4. I don't have a chance converter in this car because it's got Stacey looking at me like, what?
Because you know what they say. If you don't have a chance.
You don't stand a chance.
You don't stand a chance.
And that's a fact. And I will tell you this, as much as I want the 700 R4 over the drivability shit, I'm trying to drink my first energy drink since surgery. God, they taste good. But I promise you, if I take this car out and I can't make the car work, the 700 R4 will come out of it. I'll put a turbo 400 in it, change the rear gear, and put one of my chance converters in it. The converter and the shocks and the suspension setup is everything. Everybody tries to figure out why that little blue Nova works like it does. And most people, most chassis guys would get underneath there and go, that's fucking stupid the way you got that shit. Yeah, well, out-leave that motherfucker on the street. I challenge anybody, leave on that motherfucker on the street because you won't do it. If you do, I'll be the first one to say you got a bad motherfucking hot rod because so far, nobody's left on me. And another reason, you know, kind of something that I started being, that kind of fucked me there for a little while because I was so confident that I'm going to catch them in the first 60 foot. I didn't really worry about being, after I red lit against Dave that night, they said I cracked the tire against Dave that night, which I didn't. But when that happened, that's when I said, I'm not leaving till I see that fucking light burning bright. And I always knew I could out 60 foot because until Chuck brought that death trap car, nobody 60 footed on that street like Reaper did. Nobody. That death trap car, yeah, well, Duffy made that motherfucker a 60 foot fucking car. I mean, that car, the only car that pulled the G's and left like mine did out there. But I put Santhuffs on this car because I need this car to work. I mean, when I take it out there, I need this car to work. I need it to work right off the bat. I've done some stuff in the rear suspension. Some of this stuff that I'll share with you guys, some of it I will never share with you guys because it's going to get used against me at a later date. Somewhere, somehow, it will get used against me at a later date. But as for shocks and stuff that I feel like is important enough, if you can afford them, guys, I understand. They're not the cheapest shock out there. In my opinion, they're absolutely hands down the fucking best. That's why I run them on everything. But we're gonna try some more affordable shocks for you guys to see if there's, you know, even a middle ground. I've tried a lot of shocks. I've changed shocks on the cars before. Reaper originally came with a set of Santhuffs that came with the car. Matter of fact, the ones that originally came on Reaper are on the front of the Chevy 2 right now. That's how long I never get rid of these shocks. You will never see me sell a set of Santhuff shocks. Because I promise you, I'll put them on something. I don't get rid of them, and I run them. I mean, I run them on every car. So, we'll try some other shocks for you guys to see if we can find something that kind of meets in the middle that you can kind of work with that's more on an affordable budget. But if you want the best, better run those Santhuffs. That's my opinion for what it's worth. We'll see. If this car goes out and doesn't hook for shit, which is never going to fucking happen because it's going to work, then if somebody can show me a shock that works better, I would maybe change brands. No, I wouldn't. I would never change brands shocks. All right. So, little shock information for you guys. Not only am I talking about Santhuff shocks because the way they work and how great they work, but I'm also telling you guys, shocks are very fucking important. There's places you spend money to win, and there's places that you can get away with a little bit of less. Right now, we're gonna start out with these Santhuffs, and that's what I'm gonna run on this car. Fuck the budget.